Okay, so we're going to look at standard deviation, mean, and putting it in a large data set context for today. So this is a shadow version of this real question from Edexcel in 2023. So the question is as follows. Zara is studying the daily total rainfall in Loikers in 2015. She used all the data from the large data set covering 1st of May to 31st of October. Okay, which is the 6 months in the large data set, and we've got some information below. Okay, and we've got information saying, 0 millimeters on 45 days, and so on and so on. One thing that sticks out is we've got TR over here. So TR refers to trace. Okay, so trace is what is used when well, here's the key part really. Trace is a very, very small amount. It's not 0, but it is a number that is assumed to be less than 0.05. So we need to know what to do with this. So, in fact, this bit here really wasn't actually given, okay? We are expected to just know what trace is. So, explain how these data will need to be cleaned before Zara can start to calculate statistics such as the mean and standard deviation. So what we're looking for is first, we want to say assign a numerical value. Okay, that's the first part of our answer. So we need to assign a numerical value. In other words, we don't just sort of remove it or throw it away. So we give it a numerical value, and really we can say there's a couple of answers to this. So the safe answer is assign a numerical value. Let's put of, and you can say 0.025, or you can say 0.05. Both are accepted. Okay, and that's actually 2 marks for the first bit there. Okay, so we need to know to sort of assign them a numerical value, basically. And then underneath, we've got using all 184 of these daily rainfall values. That's a good sort of idea, isn't it, of six months, effectively, is what that is, May to October. So using all of these, we get some information. So when they're all added together, okay, and the sum of squares. And what we need to do for the next bit is we need to find the mean and the standard deviation. Okay, so mean, we want to just write that we are doing this calculation here, which is 432 over, I believe the number was 184. Okay, and when we do 432 divided by 184, we'll get a number with lots of decimals. So here's the best way to answer this. If we leave it as a fraction, that's not always going to be what they're looking for. So if we do it as a decimal, we're going to write lots of decimal places. And the reason why we're doing this is we don't get penalized for writing things too exact, but we do sometimes get penalized for not being exact enough. So when in doubt, write to lots of decimal places first, okay, and then you want to be rounding underneath. So if you want to say, for example, 2.348, okay, you can do that one underneath. And if you want to be really, really careful, you can put units on there as well, because sometimes that comes into the mix. So the idea is lots of decimal places, because if this is an acceptable answer, which it will be, the examiner will just mark that and move on. Okay, so writing lots and then rounding afterwards is a good way of doing it. So let's just try that step one more time. So the standard deviation. So standard deviation is mean of the squares minus the square of the mean. So mean of the squares would be this value over here divided by n minus the square of the mean. Okay, so I've made sure I've square rooted it visibly, and I would write this then. I would write the calculation as 5712 over 184 minus, and I would have my mean value here. So I would write 2.348, something like that. squared. Okay, and then again, I would do the same kind of process, which is I'd make sure I have lots and lots of decimal places, and then I would just round underneath. And if you do that, you will be very, very safe with your rounding, because it is sometimes a problem. So that's it really for that one there. So 2 ideas. So the ideas are, you need to know how to deal with the term trace. So we assign it a number value, and I would honestly just pick one of these things to say. So something like that, for example, would be fine. And then when we do have questions with lots of decimals, we want to clearly show the substitution for the method marks, and we want to have all the decimals, you know, lots and lots, and then rounding underneath. Okay, because even though there is advice on the front of your stats paper about significant figures, you are generally looking for in the mark scheme AWRT, which just means answers which round to. So if you give lots and lots of decimal places and then you round, you will be absolutely fine.